Welcome to my June reading wrap-up and the reveal for the July reading challenge theme. We'll start with a mid-year check-in. I set myself the goal of reading 50 books this year, and currently I am very much on track to achieve that. We are 26 weeks in, and I have read 31 books. So I am well ahead of my goal. Obviously reading 50 books, one book a week with 52 weeks in the year. I've got a couple week contingency, but I am very much ahead of my goal, so I am very pleased with myself. I hope to continue this trajectory and actually meet my goal this year. Moving on to the books that I have read this month. I read a total of 5 books, 2 that were non-reading challenge books and 3 reading challenge books. I also managed to, without really trying, incorporate a bit of Summerween and also Pride Month into my reads. So let's get into what I achieved, starting with Wolfworm by T. Kingfisher. Sonia Wilson is a talented scientific illustrator, but only able to follow her dream because of her father's reputation as a renowned scientist. And after his death, she is left without work, prospects, or hope. Such is the lot in life for a woman in science in 1899. So when the reclusive Dr. Holder offers her a position illustrating his vast collection of insects, Sonia jumps at the chance to move to his North Carolina manor house and put her talents to use. Once there, though, she encounters dark happenings in the Carolina woods and even darker questions. What happened to her predecessor? Why are animals acting so strangely? And what is behind the peculiar local whispers about blood thieves? With the aid of the housekeeper and a local healer, Sonia discovers that Holder's entomological studies have taken him down a twisted road. His groundbreaking discoveries come at a cost, one that Holder is paying with human flesh. If Sonia can't find a way to stop the monstrosity, she may be next under the knife. As mentioned, she's there to illustrate his bug collection for the scientific experiments he's been doing. And not only bugs, but there's a lot of talk of parasites specifically. So that just inherently makes your skin crawl with the graphic descriptions of bugs and parasites. And that, combined with the mystery of what's in the woods and what's going on, this actually just gave me the satisfying gothic vibes that I really wanted from a type of book like this. I've read a couple of other gothic novels before, and particularly the conclusion just didn't quite give me what I wanted out of it. And I can't necessarily express what it is that I do want out of these books, but whatever it was, this one certainly had a satisfying conclusion, and it gave me the sort of feeling I was hoping for from a gothic spooky book like this. So I would definitely recommend this. I think it's one of the better sort of horror-leaning T. Kingfisher books that I've read. And ultimately I gave this 4.25 stars. The next book I read was very different in tone. It was more of a cozy fantasy, and it is Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. I love a cozy fantasy, but this one in particular I personally really enjoyed, and I think it was mainly the cat shelter setting. I do volunteer at an animal shelter and have worked with a lot of cats before, so just the descriptions of the cats and the things that Agnes does for them to take care of them, it all was just so familiar, and I think for me that really helped with that cozy feeling. Just being around cats can be such a therapeutic experience that really translated in this book for me, and I could really transport myself into this setting. It's set in an alternative 1920s Montreal where magicians exist. And so Agnes encounters a couple of magicians who are fighting it out and causing some destruction and disruption to her city. And she's just trying to keep the cat shelter alive and keep it running so that she can take care of the animals in her care. And I just really did like the little mystery that was in there, and the gentle romantic element, and all of the characters, and particularly the cats, who some of them have their own personalities as well. So as a cozy fantasy, I really did enjoy this, and like I say, I would recommend this, but personally it just really spoke to me for those quite personal reasons, and I gave this 4.25 stars as well. Now on to the reading challenge books, which this time were all YA books. This first one pretty much encompasses both Summerween and Pride Month, and it was The Honeys by Ryan Sala. I pretty much listened to the audiobook for this one, which was narrated by Pete Cross, and it was a really good and really interesting production. Not only was the narrator just perfect, he did a fantastic job, but the production itself also used occasional elements of some eerie music and sound effects. So you had bees, which feature heavily in this, and a lot of outdoor sounds. You had some cicadas, and there was the occasional scream as well from someone deep in the forest. So those moments, those effects were very well utilised, and it certainly added an eerie quality to what you were listening to. At times I started looking around because one of the sound effects and noises had started up, but I couldn't quite figure out in that moment that actually it was coming from the audiobook, so that just added another creepy element to it, making it feel like there's something around me. What's in the house that's making that weird noise? So definitely helped to make you feel unsettled whilst you were listening to this. So when Mars's sister dies in horrific circumstances, they decide to enroll in their place at the summer academy and get to know their sister's friends and just try to figure out what happened and what went wrong leading up to her death. And Mars is a non-binary character, and you definitely see them go through this journey of identity and sexuality, and the mystery surrounding their sister's death, and just the mysterious goings on at this particular summer academy. Very compelling and intriguing, and it was a very, very satisfying read. I would recommend this one, and I gave this a solid 4 stars. The next book that I read as part of the YA challenge was Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This was my highest rated read at 4.5 stars. This was just as wonderful as I've heard from people's reviews. The characters are interesting to read about. The romance that happens in this is just really sweet and endearing, and you're really rooting for them. And it is very much You've Got Mail, set in this fantasy world where the gods are at war and they are communicating via magical typewriters rather than email. So just all of the elements to it just really worked for me. The setting, the characters, the story. I really did enjoy everything about this, and they have very much set it up for the next one, so I think I'm going to pick up Ruthless Vows sooner rather than later. The last book I read is a little bit of an outlier from the options I had selected in the previous video. I managed to pick up a new book this month which fit into the category of YA, so I thought I'll give it a read straight away. And it's The Faraway Inn by Beth Durst. I'd had my eye on this one for a little while anyway, but I hadn't yet acquired it at the time of the last wrap-up. But I have it now, and it is beautiful. And the edges, oh my goodness, and they wrap all the way around. Oh, it is so stunning. All of her books, all of these cozy fantasies that Beth Durst has done have all had gorgeous covers. I can't get over it. When 16-year-old Calissa arrives at her great-aunt's B&B in rural Vermont for the summer, she's shocked to find a run-down inn rather than the cozy bed and breakfast she was expecting. Grumpy and eccentric Auntie Z is determined to keep anyone from messing with her beloved inn, even though she clearly needs the help. To convince her great-aunt to keep her around, Calissa sets to work fixing up the inn, enlisting extra help from the groundskeeper's handsome son. But the longer she stays, the surer she is that there's something strange about the B&B and its guests. Something almost otherworldly. The inn is keeping a magical secret, but to protect the place she's come to love, Calissa must unravel the truth before it's too late. There is definitely something magical and mysterious happening at this inn, but I think what Beth Durst does so well with these cozy fantasies, she just creates a wonderful setting and characters, but there's also enough happening to keep you engaged. Sometimes with cozy fantasies they can be quite loose in the plot, which isn't always a bad thing, but she manages to keep you engaged and have enough going on that it's interesting and you just want to keep reading. And even though this one is YA compared to her other cozy fantasies and other novels, it still has the same charm to it, and I got through this in a matter of days. Granted, I was also giving myself a deadline so I could include it in this video, but it wasn't difficult to actually sit down and get through it. this was another 4-star read for me, and another one that I would recommend. Now it's time for the reading challenge theme for July, and I'm simply going to be reading novels written by authors with J names. It's just going to be J July. And to start with, I have Shirley Jackson and The Haunting of Hill House. This is very different for me. I have very recently been kind of dipping my toes into horror, and this one was at the local library, so I thought I'd give it a go. And I've heard some amazing things about this one. This is just a classic horror novel that I think probably everyone should read if they're interested. Some good hardcover sounds there. And this is just a stunning edition with sprayed edges, and this has no business being at the library. It's just so stunning. A creepy eye in the middle. Let's read about it. Four seekers have arrived at the rambling old pile known as Hill House. Dr. Montague, an occult scholar looking for solid evidence of psychic phenomena, Theodora, his lovely and light-hearted assistant, Luke, the adventurous future inheritor of the estate, and Eleanor, a friendless, fragile young woman with a dark past. As they begin to cope with chilling, even horrifying occurrences beyond their control or understanding, they cannot possibly know what lies ahead, for Hill House is gathering its powers, and soon it will choose one of them to make its own. There is a recent adaptation on Netflix which I've heard is supposed to be amazing. I haven't yet seen it, so maybe reading this will make me want to see that. I do also remember seeing a movie in, I think, the late 90s called The Haunting, which was very loosely based on this. I don't think they were particularly faithful to this. The character names all sound the same, apart from the doctor, but apart from that, I don't think this is going to be anything like the film that I've seen. So I can go into this just blind and not really know what's going to happen. The next J author I have is Josiah Bancroft, and I have Senlin Ascends. There are 4 books in this series, so we'll see if I like this enough to carry on. Let's read the blurb. Mild-mannered headmaster Thomas Senlin prefers his adventures to be safely contained within the pages of a book. So when he loses his new bride shortly after embarking on the honeymoon of their dreams, he is ill-prepared for the trouble that follows. To find her, Senlin must enter the Tower of Babel, a world of geniuses and tyrants, of luxury and menace, of unusual animals and mysterious machines. He must endure betrayal, assassination attempts, and the illusions of the tower. And if he hopes ever to see his wife again, he will have to do more than just survive. This quiet man of letters must become a man of action. I haven't heard a lot about this series, but I've been aware of it for a while, so I was intrigued enough to pick it up. And really like to get to this month. Next I have The Ferryman by Cronin. Another one I've had on my radar for a little while, but I haven't seen many reviews or anything about it. But I've been aware of it and wanted to read it, so hopefully this is my excuse and opportunity this month. Founded by a mysterious genius, the archipelago of Prospera lies hidden from the horrors of a deteriorating outside world. In this island paradise, Prospera's lucky citizens enjoy long, fulfilling lives until the monitors embedded in their forearms, meant to measure their physical health and psychological well-being, fall below 10%. Then they retire themselves, embarking on a ferry ride to the island known as the Nursery, where their failing bodies are renewed, their memories are wiped clean, and they are readied to restart life afresh. Proctor Bennett of the Department of Social Contracts has a satisfying career as a ferryman, gently shepherding people through the retirement process, and when necessary, enforcing it. But all is not well with Proctor. For one thing, he's been dreaming, which is supposed to be impossible in Prospera. For another, his monitor percentage has begun to drop alarmingly fast, and then comes the day he is summoned to retire his own father, who gives him a disturbing and cryptic message before being wrestled onto the ferry. Meanwhile, something is stirring. The support staff, ordinary men and women who provide the labour to keep Prospera running, have begun to question their place in the social order. Unrest is building, and there are rumours spreading of a resistance group, known as arrivalists, who may be fomenting revolution. Soon Proctor finds himself questioning everything he once believed, entangled with a much bigger cause than he realised, and on a desperate mission to uncover the truth. That does sound good. And I have recently been able to acquire the audiobook off of Libby, so that might just help me get through this. It's quite a chunky book and a decent amount of text on the pages, so the audiobook might be very well received and it will help me get through this chunky book. But we'll see what I manage to get through this month. Another option I have is The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. I have heard a lot about this one on the online book space that I find myself in. So I'm hoping that I will get around to this, and I'm hoping I enjoy it as much as others seem to. It's had some wonderful reviews, but I think it's also a little bit complex and hard-going. It sounds like it's a wonderful story, but one that I'll need to engage my brain in a bit more. The people suffer under the centuries-long rule of the Moon Throne. The royal family, the despotic emperor and his monstrous sons, the Three Terrors, hold the countryside in their choking grip. They bleed the land and oppress the citizens with the frightful powers they inherited from the god locked under their palace. But that god cannot be contained forever. With the aid of June, a guard broken by his guilt-stricken past, and Kima, an outcast fighting for his future. The god escapes from her royal captivity and flees from her own children, the triplet terrors who would drag her back to her unholy prison. And so it is that she embarks with her young companions on a 5-day pilgrimage in search of freedom, and a way to end the Moon Throne forever. The journey ahead will be more dangerous than any of them could have imagined. Again, it's another quite chunky book, which I wasn't expecting when I first decided, maybe I'll include this one. Picked it up from the library and was faced with this beast. I know I'm not going to get through all of these, but I like to have plenty of options to choose from. Another one that I know has been everywhere, and you'll probably be fed up with seeing it, but it's The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. All the reviews I've ever heard about this one are glowing and wonderful, and it sounds like it just needs to be a must-read for every fantasy reader, every dystopian lover. I think it seems to just bridge that gap between fantasy, sci-fi, dystopian, and I know I am way behind on reading these sorts of books. I just need to knuckle down and get through these sorts of books on my TBR. So many people love them, and I mean it's won awards. I think the whole trilogy has won the Hugo Award, so it's gotta mean something, right? In case you don't already know, let's read about it. This is the way the world ends for the last time. It starts with the great red rift across the heart of the world's sole continent, spewing ash that blots out the sun. It starts with death, with a murdered son and a missing daughter. It starts with betrayal and long dormant wounds rising up to fester. This is the stillness, a land long familiar with catastrophe, where the power of the earth is wielded as a weapon, and where there is no mercy. And lastly, a book that's appeared on my lists before, but I didn't get around to it, so this one really needs to be a priority this time. And that's The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. I'm still yet to start this author. I have heard so many great things about all of his books. I am hoping that I love his writing so that I can just consume everything he's done. And now he's just announced a new book as well, so I just want to get on the John Gwynne train. I am hoping that I love this and that it's one of my just all-time favourite books, but we shall see. And as I say, I will definitely prioritise this one. If I haven't read this by the end of July, you can hold me accountable. that's everything that I have to show you today. As always, I hope that you will join me in this reading challenge. Whatever you manage to read this month, whether it's one book or 10, I hope you have the best time and maybe you'll find your next favourite read. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Happy reading.